Yeah, main event of the night is going to be Edson Barboza versus Lerone Murphy. And Lerone Murphy is quietly putting together the most unheralded fucking win streak right now. Because I've heard of Lerone Murphy. This isn't one of those situations where this is a guy main eventing. I have no idea who the fuck he is. The name is familiar. I've seen him around. I've heard about him. But he's fucking Oh, well, his debut was a draw against Zubaira Tukhugov in September 2019. And since then, he's won every fight in the UFC. He's currently on a 3-4-5 fight streak, winning in the 145-pound division, which is a pretty good division right now. So that's a pretty impressive streak that he's on in featherweight in the UFC. But, just not much hype around him. And I kind of see why, because Makwan Markani's not even in the UFC anymore. And in 2021, when he KO'd him with a knee, that's kind of like picking on the smallest kid in the fucking class. It's kind of not really that impressive. Douglas Silva de Andrade, when he moved up, was terribly undersized. Ricardo Ramos, that was kind of the twilight of his career type thing. So I kind of see why Lerone Murphy's not really getting much hype. But at the same time, I also get why Edson Barboza is currently the underdog because of the age, the miles, the wear and tear, all the shit that's going against Edson Barboza. Edson Barboza is currently plus 124. Lerone Murphy's at a minus 148 right now. So the momentum's definitely on the side of Lerone Murphy. The age, he's on the right side of, he's 32, but that's not old. He doesn't have a whole lot of fights. He's only he's pretty much perfect other than the fucking draw. Yeah. He's 13-0. The only blemish is the draw against Tukhugov in his UFC debut. And, has everything working for him. Edson Barboza, let's see how old Edson Barboza is, but you know how long he's been around. Edson Barboza has been around for a long-ass time. He's a surefire Hall of Famer. He's fought everybody and their fucking mom you can think of. Habib, Bryce Mitchell, Shane Burgos, Paul Felder, Justin Gaethje, Kevin Lee, Gilbert Melendez, Beneil Dariush, Anthony Pettis, Tony Ferguson, Paul Felder again, Michael Johnson, Bobby Green, Evan Durham, Donald Cerrone, like just name after name after name. Edson Barboza has fought, going all the way back to his UFC debut all the way in 2010. Been in the UFC since 2010 and is 38 years old, 24-11. That's his record. Lerone Murphy, he's got a lot of luck that I think is about to come to an end in this main event. And here's why. Here's why I think his luck's going to end. He has this unbeaten streak in the UFC since that draw loss in his debut, but it's being unheralded. But he is on, nonetheless, at a pretty impressive 5-fight win streak and a pretty decent division in the UFC. So that's strike one. Strike two, he's British, for those of you who don't know.
Yes.
Trains at apparently Manchester top team according to Tapology. So you're like, how the fuck does that play into this, Bobby? What does British have to do with your luck? He was shot in the mouth and the neck in England. Let that sink in. He wasn't stabbed. He didn't have acid thrown in his face. And you Yanks have fucking school You Yanks in your school This man was shot in the UK. What the fuck did he get shot with? A blunderbuss? Somebody's fucking Nan's musket with a bayonet attached? What could he have possibly... You guys have to have a fucking license to watch TV. How'd you get a gun in the UK? I thought gun laws prevented anybody and everybody, especially law-abiding citizens, from owning firearms. How did a criminal get a firearm in the UK unlicensed and shoot Lerone Murphy as he's leaving the fucking barbershop? Lerone Top Op Murphy got shot in the fucking UK. And then what did he do? He went out and he released the hardest drill rap song about it. She sucks on my willy, it's quite delightful. If you come to West Gloucestershire, you catch the rifle. Like it never even happened. Pulled up in his Nan's Pugino, bumping that shit. He said, what now? So to be shot by a handgun in the UK, the luck, the odds of that, and to survive instead of having acid thrown in his face or be stabbed on the metro going to the fish and chip shop, that's strike two. Strike three, he's going up against Edson Barboza, who We've been seeing a lot of 38 and 39-year-old motherfuckers prove they have some longevity. Case in point, just last week, Carlos Diego Ferreira. And right now, when he knocked out Billy Quarantillo last April and had a pretty unanimous decision, dominant victory over Sadiq Youssef last October after surviving. I watched that fight live. He had a little wobbly scare from Sadiq Youssef, rallied to just beat his ass pillar to post for 5 rounds, I believe it was, another main event he had. So he's rebounded quite nicely. And I just don't think Lerone Murphy, as impressive as that 5-fight win streak is, Barboza has still proven at this age to be a top-tier elite gatekeeper, and I just don't think Lerone Murphy can crack the Edson Barbozas of the world right now. I think he's going to hold the gate, and at plus 124, I'm not even sneezing at the money line. As long as it stays at a plus line, I'm going money line with this. And Lerone Murphy's not bad by any means, but he's also not generational. He's also not just that impressive. It's just really not that interesting to me. It is a good fight to see what he has capable, but I just think Edson Barboza is going to be able to hold the line. He's not going to be able to do this forever, and his career's definitely every fight, every loss, every win, he needs to strongly consider hanging up the fucking gloves at any moment at this point. But I think in this particular instance, he's going to hold the line, and I think he's going to come through, and we're going to see him. I'm a little hesitant after the past few weeks to do anything other than a safe bet, so I'm just going to go with the money line since it's at pretty decent positive. What are you thinking?
I think that this is the hardest one for me to guess. Like, Lerone Murphy is a good striker, and I wish Edson Barboza had a better sub game to him. I saw he's trained in Muay Thai. Also, I think it's kind of clear he is on the decline, but like you said, he's like a Hall of Famer guy. So his decline is better than most people will ever get to in their careers. He's very creative on his feet. He's also a good striker, and he's got a good strike arsenal. Looking at the breakdown, Murphy is the public bet, 57% of bets, 49% of money, minus 148. Barboza, 43% of the bets, 51% of the money at plus money. It seems like, this is, the sharps could be getting one here with the sharp money coming in on Barboza. I had Murphy going in, but I think you brought up some really good points. And I think if one of these guys had a sub aspect to their game, I think that might sway me. But the fact I think both these guys are going to be kind of like the last fight, swanging and banging. And if they could both get the knockout, they could both win by decision. And so I think in that case, going with the guy who's a potential Hall of Famer that you said, we've been seeing a lot of these guys that we think are aged out still winning these type of fights. This could really be like that Joe Pyfer fight. If you remember that Pyfer Hermanson.
Unfortunately, I wish I could forget that shit.
No, me too, man. Me too. But it kind of seems like it's kind of setting up that way, kind of like how that fight was. So I think you talked me over onto the Edson Barboza side.
I'll also offer you this to kind of calm your hesitancy and your fears. You were bringing up you wish either guy had a grappling component to their game. Mm-hmm. Other than Justin Gaethje, Paul Felder, and there's one other person I'm forgetting, Dan Ige, I believe. Other than Ige, Felder, and Gaethje, out of the losses that he has experienced in the UFC, the people who first exposed Edson Barboza back when he was just known as this extreme striking phenom who just fucking split second, you let your guard down, you're getting fucking spinning back kicked into oblivion like Terry Edom, and just fucking posterized on highlight reels of Edson Barboza's for years to come. The people to first expose him as very limited once you took away that striking advantage were wrestlers. It was Khabib. It was even Kevin Lee. It was Donald Cerrone when he rear naked choked him. Those are the guys who first exposed him as, okay, this is a huge fault in his game that you can easily exploit. Like Bryce Mitchell was able to exploit it also most recently. Just take him down and pound the shit out of him. No homo. So I don't see that from Lerone Murphy. And usually when you give Edson Barboza a guy who's going to just try and stand with him and is more than happy to try to take him to decision, even though it's a 5-minute round, since it's the main event, it's 25 minutes potentially. Those are usually the guys he has his best chances against, are these guys pretty much like Murphy, more than happy, more than willing to try to stand and go to a decision with him. Also like Sadiq Youssef. And once again, Sadiq Youssef did have very early success in the very first round, in like the first, I believe, minute. But Barboza had great recovery and went on to just kick his ass for the rest of the fight. And that's pretty much going to be exactly how this Murphy fight plays out to me, is if he's not trying to grapple and take advantage of that still glaring, obvious hole in his game that exists for Barboza, and he doesn't get that like flash 1 minute knockout in the first round, he's going to be in for a long fucking night, and he's going to just get butchered like Dan Hooker and all the other people that fucking Edson Barboza has just beaten the dog shit out of, even if they were too tough to finish.
That does make me feel a lot better, because we talk about that all the time on this show about fight styles, and this we were talking about it with Sean Woodson, which, by the way, hello Sean Woodson, one again. St. Louis represent, but we were saying, if you give him a wrestler, then it's going to be a lot different fight. That'll be really interesting versus they keep giving him these striker guys, and Sean Woodson keeps winning. So I'm glad you brought that up. I do feel a lot better about Barboza now.
Yeah, if you just keep giving him these middling guys who, they're on 5-fight win streaks, but they're not like a Khabib, not even like a Kevin Lee grappler, because even... Justin Gaethje said it best, man. This is the best piece of advice out there. Here's some real talk for you right now. You're needing some life advice. Here it is right here. Justin Gaethje said this. If one man can hold you down, two all right. So Edson Barboza, you know what that means for him. He's been held down by guys before. I don't think Murphy's going to try to hold him down. He's just going to be like, oh, let me just play fucking pitter-patter 25-minute patty cake trying to outpoint the guy who can spinning wheel kick at 38 years of age my fucking head off like I'm Terry Edom. Unfortunately for Terry Edom, that's just the biggest example of a fucking vicious knockout by Edson Barboza I can think of. Why? Why would you do that? I don't fucking understand why in 2024 that would still be your game plan after you've seen wrestlers, especially. And Britain's not known for its wrestling. It's known for its knife attacks and its acid attacks. But their number one bitching complaint has been, you Yanks have wrestling in your schools, but at least we don't get in our schools. It's like, well, you don't fucking wrestle. And you always bitch about not being able to wrestle. And when you get into MMA, you want to go to American gyms to fucking train, where you're so worried about getting shot while doing a fucking single leg. So I don't know what to tell you, buddy. So Britain doesn't exactly produce fucking elite wrestlers, and I just don't see anything in Murphy's game to indicate he's going to really try to push that, taking Edson Barboza against the cage edge. So
you better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spots from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast. Better in Green.